Mark in the studio. Absolutely smashing. We haven't done a live show for quite a while, but smash a like. This is Mick. That
And
is
this is
Mark,
Mark.
right?
Big up to
Yeah.
everyone joining us.
We,
Hope you're having a
um,
great day. As Mick said, you know what it is. Man
yep.
United News with Mick and Mark.
Yes, on the lunch break. Hope you're doing well. Or some people call us M&Ms, like the chocolates, right? In today's top stories, Mark, what do you have on your radar?
Well, the only thing I was thinking about was where was Scott McTominay this weekend? And that's
Yes,
one of the things where we were all happy that we didn't see him on the pitch. He was not in the starting lineup.
that was a
Some of us
question
might
mark.
be disappointed, but it's just some news coming in that maybe he was injured, twisted a knee, as we were talking about earlier
Yeah,
before the show started. And
100%. We're
that's
going to
one
talk
of
about
those
that, yeah.
things.
100%, 100%. We're going to talk about that one as well. Also, what we're going to talk about is we did a show, we did a report about a month ago, if you go back in time, like me and Mark. And when we called out that John Moutghough is going to be sacked. Oh, actually, he was resigned about a month ago, and reports coming out yesterday was breaking news that he's going to leave, and within a couple of days, being replaced by Dan Ashworth and Jason Wilcox, and more about that. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about what is going on with Ten Hag. Will he stay? I have some latest updates regarding that, what it looks like, what is Ineos' plans, and we're going to also talk about the Arsenal debacle, the Champions League, and what it means for the British teams and how we can qualify for the next year. But please, guys, do us a favor, smash a like for this video, and we should see you in a couple of seconds.
Has the Premier League ever been more challenging?
Right, well, I feel welcome. Dit is mijn home and I want to achieve success. Okay?
Yay, Mark. We are back. How you all doing, guys? And first stream of the day. Hope you're all doing fine and dandy. Do not forget to smash the like button and hit the subscribe. It's good to be back, Mark. We haven't seen each other for a while. You've been in Mallorca.
Yeah, I've been on a little Urlaub, as they
Urlaub, what
say
you
it
say
in
in
Germany.
Germany.
Yeah, mini Urlaub.
Right.
Big up,
Right.
big up,
Good
big
job.
up, big up.
So
So
talk to me. What's going on with Scott McTominay?
well, it was reported that he's twisted a knee. He probably will be out for the next 2 to 3 weeks. It could be from the initial reports that he'll be back in time for the game. Probably, I think it's against this team.
What?
Not, I forget which team it should be. There's so many teams we play. I think it's not. I think it's Burnley is the game that he should be back for, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you never know what could be happening, and the
Really?
player might be out for the rest of the season, or he could be back, as they say, for the Burnley game, which is I think 3 weeks from now.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Well, there was a damning report. I just read it. I just pulled it up to here. Like, if we can go to this. On the benchmark.
Yeah, that might explain it because you know what? I think it happened in in the week during the week in training on the Thursday. So it was one of those things where he they wasn't sure if it was just a sprain because sometimes these things happen, but then it became that he twisted his knee, so he's not going to be able to use it. It was one of those things where you know the players is everyone knows he's a passion merchant. He's one of those guys that comes and gives his all. He might not be the best player on the field, but he shows up in big moments sometimes for the team, gets that goal. You know what I mean? So it's a tough luck, and it's one of those things. It's tough. You can't say you're happy about it. You can't say you can only say you're sad to hear that because any player getting injured is bad news. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. No, listen, we've been struck by injuries. I think we had a 60 injuries to the team altogether. Like, if you look at it, like, so it's a little bit a weird one. I mean, we were kind of everyone wanted him out in the summer, but he's been kind of there, like, as a professional saving us. But at the end of the day, like, not everyone is made of steel. Like, if you're playing that kind of intensity game. But it's also weird, like, because we have this Dr. Death, or I call him Dr. Death, the one from the Arsenal doctor, like, and we don't really have a head of physio. So do you remember, like, we did a Ten Hag press conference, and he got asked the questions like, what's going on with your medical team? And it's like, we're dealing with it internally. So that has to change, Mark. Definitely has to change. I'm having a little bit of a technical issues to get you on the other stage for some reason. Why am I not getting you on there? I'm doing transitioning, and you are not showing up for some reason. But guys, please do not forget to smash and like. We were supposed to smash that the like button. So who is in the studio today, Mark? Any comments? They are preloaded. Let me see who's in there. Big up Jolly Malmin, what you're saying here. Saying good morning. Yep. Heads more will roll, like 25 to 50% of the staff working at the club is something that should have been done years ago instead of the Glazers collecting staff. Yes, true, Jolly, and we are going to talk about that later on in this video and the show as well. Approximately, we're going to do 35, 40 minutes. Well, we'll see. Kenny Fantini is here to saying, finally, the club is doing something great. Yes. If we are talking about John Moutghough, I do have a few points to point out regarding John Moutghough. We'll be pretty much repeating what we said last time, Mark, as well, because we did some interesting thing. Good morning, crew. Good morning, Danny B. What you are saying. Mental Ball Game is here. Afternoon, everyone. Who else do we have here tuned in on the lunch break? We have Jamie Wayne. Mick knew Murtough was leaving before the media did not joking. So did I. Yeah, I told you that Jamie Wayne as well. to be honest, we did. But as soon as you saw the linkage to Ashworth, you knew that Murtough was out. Like, it's all about best in class. The interesting story about John Moutghough is what he was actually appointed that season where they sacked Solskjaer, right? So he basically came in. Murtough has actually done good at the club on academy level. If you remember, Mark.
100%. And it's one of those things where we could blame a lot of the signings that we did not get, and some of the poor signings that we did have, or the manner in which we signed some of these players on John Moutghough directly. Look at more recently, the Anthony situation. We could have got him in May or June for 35 million. We bought him in September for 90. It's one of those things. You look at, he went to Barcelona, didn't come back with Frankie de Jong. He went to Italy. He just had dinner with Rabiot's mom.
Racking up the credit card of the
there's
private
other
jets.
players like Jude Bellingham. They didn't want to sign him because he wasn't a big name at the time. He wasn't going to sell shirts. Other players, the likes of Caicedo, were refused by the likes of John Moutghough. It's just one of those things. He's not really one of those guys that has a footballing mind. He's one of those men that look more in the now and what's profitable and what's lost more than what could be gained in the future. So it's a good buy for him. Good riddance from the fans.
Yeah.
And thank you for your services.
Thank you. Guys, you can go back and read this article on the Mufc Realist TV website, because this out much what it is. So, but if you're going to spin on that, when I say that Murtough didn't do that bad, like, he was competent because him and Nicky Cox was the one that started the academy, the overhaul of the academy, right? Because Manchester United realized that our academy is falling apart and City's pretty much hoovering up all the local talents. So what they've been doing in the background for the past 4 or 5 years is paying dividends and fruits, because him and Nicky Cox took over and they started to look at young prospective talents like, Hannibal Mejbri. They brought in Garnacho for 475, thousand pounds from, Atletico Madrid, and lots of stuff. So, however, the Glazers then kind of, during the firing of Solskjaer, was tumult. So they looked into a point internally instead of going for the best in class externally, right? But he never did have that competency. So what happened, and this is taking from a lot of my contacts that work in the, as an agents and stuff like that, been in touch with him. I've certainly spoken to him a few times as well. And he's basically, it hurts me to say, but The reason why they say that he's incompetent is because he outsourced most of his roles out to external consultants. So because he doesn't have the competence, right? And that's been racking up a lot of, yeah, you can't even negotiate. It's true what you say, that he couldn't negotiate for a packet of crisp. The Anthony situation was on that year when we signed Anthony, he was getting married, so he actually went away for a holiday or honeymoon holiday in the middle of a transfer window. So we started off first talking to Ajax regarding Martinez and Anthony as well, right? And by the time he came back, you know how it goes. Like, it was 2 weeks left of the transfer window. And of course, they raised the bar, they raised the price to say, we are not desperate to sell. So you have to overpay. And that's been the conundrum of John Mourtough. Like, can't negotiate, and it's been overpaying too much and been selling players for cheap. Like, we're talking about academies, like, going for £1 million, XYZ. It's just, it's not worth it. So, of course, when Inneos and Brailsford has been the one driving this overall strategic review, and he said, well, this got to change. So, of course, they're going with the best in class. We spoke about this 1 month ago, and Darren Fletcher as well. What does Darren Fletcher do? Nobody really knows. So he's been given a wrong title as a technical director, while you're seeing him. You know what a technical director is, right? Head of academy, overseeing more strategical. Well, he's been more seeing, like, whispering Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's ear, like, in Ragnick's ear and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And also been laying down the cones in training. And that is not a technical director. So will he be gone? There is some speculations within the club that they might find another role for him to be the bridge between the academy and the first team players, like reporting into Wilcox, right? Do you think that is the perfect role for Darren Fletcher, or do you think he needs to go as well?
I think it's time. I mean, he's done a decent background job in terms of bringing one of two youngsters in time since Erik ten Hag has came in. He brought in a few youngsters like Harry Amas. He was instrumental in that because Erik ten Hag and they had a little bit of a scouting party when he now came into the job. The first 3 months of his United career, they looked at a lot of youngsters in different teams and how they could benefit United. And as we can see last summer, when 27 young players left the club, it was an overhaul. And of course, United started this rebuild of the academy maybe a few years before Erik ten Hag, but with his new style and his new eyesight, there's been lots of younger players who were moved up ahead of other players to the under 18s from the under 16s. Some players brought in like Harry Amas from Watford. The young striker Ethan Wheatley came in from, I think, Port Vale or one of those smaller teams at around the same time. This was like just about 18 months ago. The youngsters, and a lot of them that have been in the starting lineup selected for the under 18 squad have been handpicked by Erik ten Hag and Mitchell van der Gaag. So, I can't say he's all bad because, his sons came to the club probably convinced by him. Manchester United paid a little bit of a fee for them from Man City. I think it was somewhere in the region of £100 million for both of them. No, £1 million for both of them. I think it was 450 each plus tax or whatever. But at the same time, these two youngsters have stapled themselves into the under 18s. You can see that they have been also training with the first team in the last 6 months. And, although Jack has been received an injury a few games ago and has been out for the rest of the season, Tyler has been, growing from strength to strength. So it's one of those things where he's done a decent job, but he's not good enough. He doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the wealth of knowledge that is needed for the position. Sure, he might be able to learn and apply his trade, but should he be doing that at Manchester United? I don't think so. Maybe it's time for him to, maybe step down from the first team
Yeah,
and get more involved with the youth
under
teams
20.
and the
Yeah,
academy or something
right,
like that. But he definitely needs to be
right.
replaced.
Cool. Now, speaking about Jason Wilcox, we had our finger on the pulse regarding Dan Ashworth and Wilcox. And Wilcox is a swift appointment. And, we're just a small fish, but we happen to be, at least I have to have connections within the agencies and intermediates with my years of experience. So of course, you cannot always reveal your stories because it's very sensitive information. But back then I was actually aware that Jason Wilcox basically will be appointed with the swift transition. So he will be starting very, very soon as well. Southampton did not want any compensation fee because he started last year. So basically what Manchester United has done is to sort of ease off the burden. So what you see is a sign-on bonus to Wilcox to start. Like, we're looking at approximately 5 million as a sign-on bonus. Otherwise, he will be stuck with the 6 months probation, but we are kind of getting him and quick on board, and he's going to start within, I think, within a couple of weeks, by my understanding as well. So Wilcox will be overseeing the academy, 100%, best in class. What do you know about Wilcox? Because Wilcox, if I can tell you guys, Wilcox was responsible for the Manchester City Academy. And then he got appointed as a head of football, right, for Southampton, which is in the lower division, the Premier League right now. So, of course, this is the lure of coming to Manchester United to work with Barada because he knows Barada. So, but is in the interim while we're waiting for Ashford. Ashford's going to start in the summer, per my understanding as well. It's led to believe that they are caving in. He's already quit, so it's all about paying up 15 million in compensation. I think it's 10 to Newcastle, what I said last time, and 5 in sign-on bonus to Ashford. So it's just down to the club to sort of announce it, but I believe that we'll do it at the end of the window. But it's going to be safeguarded in certain ways that you get Wilcox in, he will act as an interim sporting director, and together with Matt Hargreaves as well in terms of negotiations. So I want to sort of bring. So what is this formation? Well, Manchester United still need to negotiate, and Matt Hargreaves is a chief negotiator, right? So while you have Wilcox and Hargreaves, that is people that understands football, right? So Hargreaves will be part of negotiating the summer. So we are not stuck with a beard in the mailbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you can't be too mad at that because
Nice. Brilliant.
he's a decent negotiator. And if you look at Jason Wilcox's record over his clubs at what he has done at Man City in recruitment, what he's done at Southampton, you can tell that he knows what he's doing. We all hear this term "best in class," but he's top, in my opinion. He's top class in all regards. He's done a very consistent job with all his recruitment. You've seen the performance of lots of the players he's recruited, especially at Man City. Some of the young players breaking through, like Phil Foden and these guys, when they were young, a lot of them were recruited by him. And to know that he's probably gonna be in the next few weeks when he starts as well.
Yep.
As he's probably going to be assisting and taking over as an acting, DOF.
Yeah, that's the one. It's called
terms of
acting
the
interim
window. It's
until
good.
Ashford comes in. And we have a big question from Red G. Well, it's possible how the channel has 21, it's actually 21.2k subs and never get more than 50 watching in the stream. Actually, the other day on Monday, we had 500 watching at the same stream, Red G. So I don't know if you're trolling, but it is a lunch day. It wasn't planned. We usually go live around in the late afternoon. But today, since Mark's been in Mallorca, we decided to go in the lunchtime. So I hope that explains. Sound vanished according to Yolemal. Let us know
that was
if you can
before.
hear
That
us.
was earlier when you switched your scenes.
Yeah, grabs your popcorn anyway. So big up for everyone. If you are now watching, please give us a little bit of like. And if you are watching in retrospective, do hit the like button and subscribe because it's free. Another important information that we need to share as well. If you have subscribed, if you're not getting notification, check that subscription notification bell button and allow all notification. If you do so, you will get notified whenever we post a video or go live. Important information. So, Mark, listen, good news. John Moutghough out. We get professional setup. This will always be the case. We have Omar Barada starting in the summer. We have Ashford starting as a sporting director. We have Wilcox confirmed as well, starting in a couple of days, as per my understanding. The next, as you work in a top-down approach, is the head of recruitment. Who do you think Manchester United will get?
Well, Well, we just got Jason Wilcox. We have a Omar Barada. Maybe we can sneak in a Julian Ward or something, because I feel like this
You're
guy.
just speaking to me. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, I
okay,
mean,
talk to me.
you want to have a good team. You want to have a team that's consistent. People always throw around the terms best in class, best in class. You just need a guy to be very good at what he does and consistent with it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I think with the size of Manchester United, half the job is already done for anyone working in that
yeah,
regard, because they have a reputation
yeah,
around the world. I think we're safe to say we're the biggest club in English history, at the same time, the second biggest club in the world. Everyone knows who Manchester United is.
yeah,
Who wouldn't want to play here?
yeah. For a structural matter, like let's just be clear. Like the way the Ineos are now setting up is to set up the structure first. Like you start from head to bottom, right? Head to toe. So now, where you have Wilcox, now you're moving on to the next target, which is the head of recruitment. And you had people, a lot of media was linking us to Dougie Friedman, a lot of lukewarm. But Julian Ward is a story that won't go away. Why Julian Ward? Julian Ward is out of job. He can start tomorrow, no problems. He was with Liverpool, instrumental in bringing Darwin Núñez, Diaz, even part of negotiating for Mo Salah back then as well. A lot of good players, McAllister's and all that stuff, right? Not only on domestic market, but a nose and flair for the international players, right? And he's said to believe that we're going to recruit young talent, under 26, best in class talent all across the world. And Julian Ward is high on the radar. So I believe that it's going to be Julian Ward because you don't have to pay any compensation. You can start ASAP. I think he's in line because you had Michael Edwards starting there as well. No, what was the other guy from the Monaco that's taking over that role now? Not Edwards. Mike, help me, Mark. We were linked to another.
Michael Edwards.
Yeah, Edwards, but the other one
Oh,
that
it's
was with
Michael Edwards, Paul Mitchell.
Nice. Paul Mitchell. Yeah, Paul Mitchell is going to Liverpool now. So keep an eye for Julian Ward. That was the latest what I was told as well. So I don't see any other unless they have somebody from Portugal or the Spanish league. We will see. We will see. So guys, big up. We are 22 minutes and 30 minutes into this lunch stream. So more heads will roll, Mark. More heads will roll. Let's talk about that one. 100%. Let's do it. Let's do it. Because, as you're doing a rebuild, right? Um, it is clear and evidential that whoever comes in want to clear house because the people that are sitting there, we're talking about the executives, right? There are appointments from the Glazers and Ed Woodwards. Now, Ineos is taking over the footballing operations. Omar Barada is the CEO across the commercial and the football operations. So Patrick Steward, if you don't know who Patrick Steward was, he was the interim CEO while they sacked Richard Arnold. So he is the CFO, and it's led to believe they are going to replace him as well because he's on the old guard. And also the COO, Chief Operating Officer. Who is the Chief Operating Officer, Mark?
Isn't that Collette Roche?
Yep. And what is Collette Roche famous for?
Oh, she's famous for being the leader of the feminist
Leaks.
movement in the UK.
And the leaks. Yes. She is led to believe to be replaced by Hugo Viana. Hugo Viana is an ex-footballer, played for Newcastle and played for Portugal. Also was in charge with the Saudi League with I can't Al Basal or something like Al Wasal or something like that. But played his last football game in 2016 and been in charge in footballing operations since. So he is somebody that's been linked to Jean-Claude Blanc, and I don't know, it's sneaking under the radar a little bit, but it makes sense. Why Collette Roche? I don't want to be done by any lawsuits, but in a way, if you quickly brief talk about it, you remember the Mason Greenwood story? She, as a chief operating officer, she's also responsible for the head of HR, right? So, as a head of a HR, chief operating officer, whenever you have an employee that's been potentially breaching any employment contract, you have to do the investigation. If you're being accused for sexual allegation at work and stuff like that, you have to do interviews, you have to do investigations, and you have to sort of collect the evidence. And the final approval then goes to the CEO. So whatever we haven't heard in the media was what Richard Arnold was saying, that you haven't heard what we have heard. You don't know what we have. So media has been sort of throwing out snippets. You can't undone what you've seen by your own eyes, by your own standards. But you got to look at the legal ramification and from unemployment. So Mason Greenwood is still employed by Manchester United because he didn't breach any contracts. So Richard Arnold decided then he's going to clear Greenwood. He told Erik ten Hag, you're going to have Greenwood. And somebody just before leaked it out to the press, to the Athletic and everything else, and all shit broke loose. And all of a sudden they have to retract. And Mason Greenwood is now pissed off with the club. If you look at the statements, the Mason Greenwood doesn't want to come back. I cannot blame him. The way he's been treated, it's been piss poor by the HR. And the sacked, actually, this was the sacking, that led to Arnold was sacked, Mark. So, and that is, I heard from very, very credible sources as well. So we will see. So, but it makes sense, Mark, doesn't it?
100%. And it's one of those things where you can have your views as a human being, you could have your views as a personal person, but when you're working in an organization, your views can't run the organization. It's an organization. You have to put your private matters aside and deal with it as it goes. And when you look at the cases of certain players and what's been happening, the protection some players receive, the lack of protection for other players, it's not a wonder why there's always unrest in the dressing room and fingers pointing in every direction, because it seems that some players get the favor of the club and some players don't. Look at Jadon Sancho. I mean, I'm not saying that I side with him on what happened between him and Ten Hag. I think he's wrong. But look at all the news that came out from the club in the media that was leaking about, him eating lunch and him coming up late and all these things.
Everything was leaked.
I think all of these things are betrayal on your oath.
I mean,
as when you sign up to work for a company, employee.
It's more, Mark, that you are loyal to the owners and you are doing their bidding instead of the club's bidding, basically. So if you notice, they even sacked the head of social media and PR, right, because of these scandals and everything. Because have you seen the leaked lineups lately? Have you heard anything? Because it has been a tight ship ever since Brailsford came in and did the overall strategic review. You don't hear anything, and that's why media is kind of second guessing and throwing a lot of managers is going to replace. It's been too much, like it's zilch. They don't know zilch at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk about that as well. So Uganda PUBG, you must be a gamer. PUBG, love that as well. Mobile gaming. Hi, who would plan head of recruitment? We just spoke about Julian Ward. So yes, that is who it is. Yeah, it's fine. In terms of Ten Hag, right? I had a very interesting conversation yesterday with my ex-boss who had a meeting with Jean-Claude Blanc last week as well. And I asked him, so what's going on here? Why is media throwing out Southgate, De Zerbi, Potter and stuff like that? And he basically said, Mick, you know what? This is just media second guessing, So I was told pretty much like what the media is reporting as well, that, Jean-Claude Blanc and Inneos and Brailsford have done the strategic review, and the main priority for Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the team is to put the right structure in place first, before they are even addressing the manager situation. It's pretty much recruiting from the top to bottom, right? So, and that will take 1 year to get everyone warm in place, as changes doesn't happen over a light switch. So by the time you get all the heads in, they get warm, it's going to take you 1 year. Ten Hag has got 1 year left on his contract, and it certainly feels like it. Okay, the De Zerbi, the Nagelsmans, the Potter is just a hoax. I mean, Southgate was a hoax. They are not best in class for them, right? They're appreciated, what I've been told, but it's not what can they take us to the next level, right? So they are thinking the thinking is that Ten Hag's got 1 year left on his contract. I'm just going to think. 1 year left on his contract. They said, let's plan with Ten Hag for the summer window. He's got 1 year left on his contract. Let's see how we can do with the right structure in place, with the right backing, with ins and outs. And if it doesn't go well, we have a identified target for 2025, which are better managers available back then us. Because if you look at now, you don't have any superstar manager there available, right? They think it's good enough, right? So I hope that makes sense, Mark, and the viewers.
Yeah, perfect sense. It's basically the smartest move. You know what I mean? This hire fire sack a manager symptom and syndrome has not been successful for most clubs. I mean, it might have worked in some situations, but if you look at the modicum now and the type of players in this generation, they're not as driven as players in the noughties, players 10 years ago. These players definitely, you can tell they wanted to be best in the world. They wanted to have their name in lights as the best in their position. You know, some of these players now, they're good for a few games. They're good for a couple games, might be good for a season, and then they're superstars, and it's all done for them.
Yeah.
It's just look at
Yeah.
the performances that you're getting. I mean,
Yeah.
even one of our great players, Nemanja Vidic, was speaking to the press recently, and he was saying, "I don't think it's down to the manager. Sure, the team has had injuries, but look at the performance last season. He was successful. We finished third with the squad that he had, and then he won a cup. We played in 2 cup finals, and look at them this season. When you're thinking they're going to push on from this, and the players just keep capitulating. And just like I was saying all the time, it was the players' mentality, and this is what Vidic is saying. And we all know Vidic is a mentality monster.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yeah,
it's
I
just
mean,
that. And
it
like
is like
fans
that.
might be
It-
hard to say as a fan, but at some point in time, you can't always make someone better. You can't always teach someone something new.
Yeah.
They also have to want and will to be better as well. So maybe we should just move them on.
No, I'm just tired of this debate. Why are we even having this debate? And they're coming out with this new thing, the latest trend and the popular trend is then there's no style of play. Since when did we have a style of play? We only had a style of play. We saw a style of play with Louis van Gaal. We saw what he wanted to do, but since then we haven't had a style of play. Everyone has been asking, so that has been the new norm. I'm tired of this debate. In, out, doubt, whatever. It comes down to what they have planned and what they're going to do. So the proof will be in the pudding. So we can park that one in the bus. Even managers like Thomas Tuchel is out of jobs. Of course, he's going to be linked with us. And looks like Liverpool is going for the Portuguese. What's his name?
Ruben
Amarun as well. So big up for them. But speaking about Thomas Tuchel, I mean, guys, you watched the Champions League yesterday, Bayern versus Arsenal. We're going to talk about that to round up this show. First and foremost, 2-2 in Champions League, home at Emirates Stadium. Thomas Tuchel was up 2-1, and he subs up Leroy Sané, who was on fire, puts in a Coleman, right? Who hasn't kicked the ball for been injured. That tells me that this manager lost this game. But I want to also talk about the penalty situation, Mark. First of all, let's talk about Tuchel. Did you think that it was a mistake for Tuchel to do that in-game management substitution when there were 2-1 up?
It was a weird one for me. You know what I mean? I feel like you take off the player but you never know what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe Sane was injured or feeling something and he had to
It didn't
come
look
off.
like it. He was shaking his head saying, "What were you subbing me for?"
Maybe because I know how Sane is. Sane is one of those players that when he's having a good game, he doesn't want to come off the field, and I think he shouldn't have came off. I think Tuchel was sabotaging himself making that substitution, but at the same time, I look at the referee's decision when, the whistle was blown, the ball was kicked off by the goalkeeper. Then, as usual, Gabriel, he's always in some questionable moments. I mean, the rugby tackle on Hoyland was one thing, but then he picks up the ball with his hand, places it
Yeah,
down at his feet, and passing it back to Raya. How is it not a penalty? I hear
yeah,
the
true
ref has
then.
been saying, it's a schoolboy mistake. I'm not going to give a penalty for that. These
Nope.
guys are professional adults. What schoolboy
Okay,
mistake is he talking about?
I know. Guys, if you're watching, there's two topics I'm going to finish off with. Did Saka dive like a dolphin, or was it actually a penalty? That incident itself, it's questionable. For me, when I look at it, it was a pen. But could Saka not dive? Or I don't think it was a dive. He could, Saka is good. He could have surpassed Manuel Neuer and scored. But
No.
the debacle afterwards is what blew my mind, right? Referee just make an instant decision. He just did like this. They kicked off the ball, and as soon as they kicked off the ball on Arsenal side, he blew off the game. And by that time, VAR could not have a chance to intervene. And once you blow off the game, you cannot go back and have a penalty. That is the rules.
I mean, it was never a penalty to begin with, Mick. I think Saka dived. More than dived, I think he planned. He planned to make contact with Raya. It's kind of very similar to what Conor Bradley did against Wan-Bissaka in the game when we played Liverpool. Like, if you look at his touch, even if you look at it in real time, when he touches the ball on the outside of his left foot and he curves it around, most players with his footwork and ability has the ability to make that. It's like a wave where you kind of just alter your weight onto that side and you shift. And rather than shifting, he just kind of keeps his run that he knows is going to go right in the direction of where what Raya is going to be. And worst of all, he sticks his leg out and he keeps it there. Like,
Yeah,
he has so much time to move his leg to do. He could have gotten past and
he could
taken the
have gone
shot.
past.
But you
But
know
like,
what? He maybe was like, you know what? It's so easy. Let me just take the penalty. I don't have to worry about taking a chance to shoot, and I'll get the free spot kick, and it's a done deal. Maybe that's what went through his head, but in no way, shape, or form that's a penalty.
yeah,
I'm surprised actually that he didn't get a yellow card for diving.
yeah.
That's what I'm
Oh
surprised
well,
about.
yeah, football is seen through from millions of people's eyes. But since we are Manchester United fan channel, we love football in general. But Jamie got a point. I don't give a shit because Arsenal penalty decision. Fair enough, fair enough. But you know what? 2-2, Arsenal 3-3. What a madness! City game versus Real Madrid. Oh my god. So it's going to be a very interesting return leg, right? So, and basically, in the semifinals will be either City versus Bayern, or whoever wins the return leg will meet each other on the semifinals. So that means that you cannot have a full English final anyway. So, but it's important that everyone goes deep into the Champions League because that creates that fifth spot for the Champions League next season as well.
100%. And we need that
100%.
because we're going to be in fifth when the season is over. So
Yeah.
we're going to need that Champions League spot. You know what I mean? At the same time, I'm like, it was an interesting tie, to be fair. Like, not to delve too much in the Champions League, but it was shocking. Both teams ended with draws. I certainly thought Real Madrid was going to walk away with a victory
And that
handsomely.
was a
They
madness of a
squandered so
game.
many chances in the first half. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But you know what? You give Man City a chance and they will come knocking, they will knock the
Right.
door down.
Fantastic. Big up everyone for tuning in. Roydon Frost is here. Saka must stop crying and play. Big up Roydon Frost. How you doing? The keeper offered his legs to the player. Aims for a leg since most times a pen is given in this situation.
That's
Even
just in the
the
Premier League, bro. And that's
yeah,
only
in the
because
Premier
of a
League, and
mad rule.
yeah, and the pundits are usually punditing Premier League, and I could hear, I can't believe it's not a penalty. I can't, like, and they were all
How?
fuming.
A
They were all
penalty is
fuming.
supposed to be where you challenge the player, whether you're a defender or a goalkeeper, right? You challenge the
Yeah,
attacker and you take him out, where you
yeah,
take out his leg or you take whatever you do. You don't get the ball, but you remove him from being able to
yeah.
to continue on and
Yeah.
advance. That's the
Here comes
pen.
Ivo Bosic, the moment of truth. Bukayo Saka kicked Neuer. Should have been booked, in your opinion.
100% Evo.
Yeah, big
It's
up,
the same
Ivo.
thing Conor Bradley did to Basaka. He kicked him, literally kicked the guy.
All right.
Like, how could you kick someone, right? And
Okay,
they get a foul or penalized for that? That's
fantastic.
crazy.
Tonight we have by PSG, we have Barcelona. Who else do we have tonight?
PSG versus Barcelona, Dortmund versus Atletico Madrid.
Wow, interesting. Wow,
For
wow,
all the
wow.
Jadon Sancho fans, you're gonna see him starting at the Coliseum tonight. So
Yeah,
big up for
probably.
that.
Probably. You know, I just found it difficult yesterday because why are they screening out at the same time? Like, it's just like you want to watch both games, like, so I start
Mm.
flicking, like, I
Well,
think,
in a way, I think because of the way the tie is, they're doing it at the same time so that you can't decide how you're gonna play the game. Based on the other team's performance. Some people, you could say, well, okay, I only need to score one goal today, or two goals. So it's more or less to keep so you don't know who you're playing against in the next round in advance. Like what if the City was winning Real Madrid, Bayern hears that, and Bayern is like, okay, we're not gonna
yeah,
make it. Let's just stop playing. You
right.
know what I mean?
All right, guys, we are going to wrap up the stream. We have some technical issues. We're going to also finish off by talking about the Belfast Baby. You know who the Belfast Baby is?
Rashford.
Yeah. Also injured, in a doubt. McTominay, what we discussed about, looks like he's twisted his knee. He's going to be out for 4 weeks. Nobody really knows what's going on with Rashford Bebe. Belfast Bebe is also doubt. But I think it's a blessing in the sky, like, because I want to see more of the youngsters play, like, that offer something. Nothing against Rashford, but, one good season. And this hasn't been Rashford season at all. Like,
No, it hasn't been a season, but I mean, it's a good thing when you can say to yourself, Rashford is injured. No problem. We got some youngsters in the back. We got some wingers there that have been performing well. Anthony could come in. Ahmad could come in. For me, it's all about the squad. And I know everyone knows I'm a Bruno fan, but at the same time, being a Bruno fan doesn't mean I
yeah.
don't think he should be benched for some games. Doesn't mean I wouldn't say he had a bad game. At the end
No,
of the day, I'm a Manchester fan, so
me
whatever
too.
is best for my club.
100%, 100%. But we got a joke about it as well. Like Ivo Bosic used to say, Rashford checked out for holidays early. Potentially, are you dodging the bullet? I don't know. Players has done that before, like faking an injury just to avoid. We have one currently that's going to walk away in the summer for free, and we call him Anthony Martial.
Oh,
Glad,
fragility, man.
yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Let the glass man go. Bye.
Glass
He
man.
should have been sold since the move to Sevilla. That season he wanted to go to Sevilla when we needed him, we didn't have a backup striker. And Ragnick said stay, and he said, "No, I want to go." We should
Yeah.
have sold him that summer, bro, for 10 million. I don't care
Big up,
how much people like him.
big up, Madhouse, one of our loyal community members here as well, coming in. Rashford just staying fit for PSG pre-season. Can
Yeah,
it be so? Yeah,
100%.
100%.
Sell
Yeah.
him. 70 mil. I'll take it all day.
Yeah.
I'll take 50 if I could get it tomorrow.
You know what? Do we ever have a break? Like, if we talk about injuries, like, I keep forgetting there is a Euros in the middle of the summer, so some players will not even have a break, right? They're going straight into the Euros.
And the Euros is coming to my city, so I'm gonna be there.
You're gonna
When,
be there. Yeah,
of
Gary
course.
C saying you're over Rashford as well. Yeah, 100%. Guys, we are playing Bournemouth over the weekend. Is it Saturday or is it Sunday?
I believe it's Saturday evening in the
Saturday evening.
8:30 game. We're
Is it
playing
away
Bournemouth.
game, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a
Yeah.
good game. I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are worried because of the fact that Bournemouth beat us the first time this season that we played them, and they beat us 3-0, which was handsome. I wasn't able to see the game. I saw a replay, but we're playing 6:30 on Saturday away at Bournemouth. I'll be honest,
Good
I
one.
think it was a fluke. In the last two games where we played, clearly fans, like I don't know about you guys, but I think the ref made us put us in the position that we lost and we drew, because if not for those two penalties that were given, one against Chelsea, one against Liverpool in those games, I don't think those teams would come back, because from the way it looked at Chelsea after we scored that third goal, they were done.
Yeah.
And that penalty brought them back in the game. It's the same thing with Liverpool. They were done after we took the lead. So it was tough. I'm never going to be over the main character, man. He's a
What?
superstar, star boy. He's going to be back soon. So hold your head, Van House. You're going to see him soon in the kit. And don't be
Ooh.
shocked to see it with a number 7 on the back. Just
Oh,
remember, I'm saying that from now.
are you talking about Mason Mount or?
No, I'm talking about the original Mason. You know,
Oh, that one. Okay. Well, nobody really knows at the moment, do we? Right?
we don't know
Nobody
yet
really
what will
knows.
happen, but hope for a good future. You know, at the end of the day, as much as I'm a United fan, and as much as I'm like, oh, you know, I don't condone certain things. As a football fan, I want my club to win. I want the best possible players to start in the 11. I want players that are going to help me win games. And I honestly feel like if this dude was in the squad, we would be at least 10, 15 goals plus, maybe 2 or 3
Yeah,
spots higher in the league.
that is a decision to be made in the summer. Big up, everyone! Smash that like button. Big up. That's been Mark over there talking sense. And at the end of the day, like they do have Solanke, right? This striker, which is quite good as well. So, am I worried? Yes, I am. Why? We, we seem to do well against Liverpool and stuff, but it's the lesser teams that I'm worried about. The Fulhams, the Bournemouths. This is where we usually drop our heads, like complacency. But I want us to go away, play good football, and beat them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
100%. In the last few games,
That's
although
wrapping
we
up the
haven't,
stream, by the way. That was the final whistle call. You have one more thing to say, Mark, before we close the shop.
just to answer Madhouse, yeah, we would definitely have been still in the Champions League if he was here. Trust me, my guy. The dude is ill. You know, I went there to have a coffee with him and let him know, listen, you need to come back home. I know you
Right.
want to leave, but sometimes you got to take one on the chin. The team
You
needs you.
do.
The fans need you.
The fans need you, and the fans need to support and back this team. Anyway, this has been Mick. That's been Mark, and we spoke about a lot of things today. We spoke about the resignation of Murtough, and why. We spoke about the more heads will be rolling. If you're watching this in retrospective, we're talking about potential replacements. We talk about Ten Hag's future. We talk about the player team news, and that's about it. And this has been the first stream of the day, probably the last stream of the day, because later on I'm going to be watching Champions League. Big up, everyone. Thank you for watching. Do smash that like button if you look at it in retrospective. Big up, Mark, and thank you. Have a blessed, lovely day. Talk to you guys later. See you to the next one, as per usual. Bye-bye.
Big up, guys. Big up to the PL.
Thank you so much for stopping by and watching Mufc Realist TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on the socials.